Hello YouTube, this is Jarkon633. I'm back with another video review. This time we're going to take a look at the S.H.Figuarts Shinkocchu Seihou Kamen Rider Skull. Now, unlike the previous release, I think Bandai Tamashii really knocked this design out of the ballpark, and they did a fantastic job in updating the sculpt into the new Shinkocchu Seihou design. We'll look at the original skull next to it, but that mold has definitely not aged over the years, and it just looks really disproportionate and very wonky in a lot of areas, similar to what happened with the original S.H.Figuarts Kamen Rider Double molds in general. Anyways, we'll now look at the box first. The box is in the standard Shinkocchu Seihou design, and there's a picture of Kamen Rider Skull there. Has the name printed on the side, and shows the contents and how the figure reacts and so on. So that's pretty cool. So now we're going to open up the box and see the contents inside. Now we're going to look at the figure more closely. First, we're going to take a quick comparison. Here is the Shinkocchu Seihou version of Skull next to the original release, which, once again, as I mentioned, really has not aged over the years, and it just looks really strange. Another interesting point is that this figure is actually taller than the original release, and I think that really helps the figure overall in terms of sculpting and design. Anyways, we'll take the older skull up to the side and take a closer look at the new figure. Articulation-wise, it's pretty much standard than what we've seen with S.H.Figuarts releases. We're going to take the hat off for now, since we're going to take a look at the head sculpt, which is very nicely done. And I think Bandai Tamashii did a fantastic job in the overall design. Articulation-wise, the head is on two versions of the ball joint, one having full range of movement on the top of the head, and another joint inside the neck, which pretty much shows that it has 2 points of articulation in the neck. He does have ball joints at the shoulders, along with a ball joint at the shoulder, along with a peg which allows it to swivel a bit. He has full swivels at the biceps, double joints at the elbows, fully ball jointed wrists, full movement in the abdomen in two areas, one on top and also on the waist. It has fully ball jointed hips, swivels at the thighs, double joints at the knees, and full joints at the ankles, along with another cut in the boot there. So, once again, it has another variety of articulation, which really benefits posing for this particular character. Now, we're going to take a look at some of the other features that the figure has. One is that, similar to Double, the lost driver is articulated, so you can close and open it. It does have a skull memory inside, which we're going to slide out. It's very small, so it's very easy to lose, so you do need to be careful when playing around with it. You can place it into the maximum drive slot if you wish to, so we're going to quickly do that and hopefully not lose it in the process. So we're going to move the body a bit in order to get into the maximum drive slot, and it does fit in nicely. And I think it actually fits in better into the maximum drive slot than it does in the last driver itself. But once you get it in, it's now attached inside the maximum drive slot. So now we're going to slide it out. And what's also cool is, unlike the original Skull Magnum that was released with the regular figure, this is articulated as well, so you can put it into the standard blast mode or the maximum drive mode. So what's cool is that you could take the guy memory and slide it inside the Magnum so that you can activate his maximum drive. You do need to position it into the right way, because sometimes it is a little bit hard to put in there, but once you position it, it does slide in very nicely. So we're just going to quickly do that. There we go. And then closes. Now you can see that the memory is inside the Magnum. We're actually going to keep it in there in order to make sure we don't lose it during the rest of the video. And I did forget one point of articulation, and that is with the scarf. The scarf is actually on a ball joint, although it is attached via inside here. You do need to attach it in two places, one in a hole in the scarf itself, another in his back. So once you do, it does stay in firmly and no problems of it falling out. We're not going to show in this video exactly how old the hands look on the figure, but we will take a look at how you attach the crystal skull. So now we're going to have a closer look and see how that works. Now we have a close shot of Kamen Rider Skull. We're actually going to be attaching the crystal skull head. In order to do so, you do need to actually open up the head, and it's a very interesting way to implement the secondary head, and it makes it a lot easier, in my opinion, to actually attach it. Inside, you see there is a secondary peg area where you do need to unpeg the two shells of the head and attach it via those pegs. So first, we're going to remove the standard head and go on with the crystal skull head. So now we're going to attach it. It's a little bit hard to get into sometimes, but once you do, it does stay in nicely. So first, we're just going to quickly slide it in. There we go. And then we're going to attach the front part of the shell. And now we got this really nice translucent plastic for the Kamen Rider Skull crystal head. So that's really cool. It does have a little bit of a hard time attaching, but once you do, the crystal skull head is very nice. So now we're going to go on to one more comparison and take a look at some of the other accessories. So now we're going to take a look at some of the accessories first. First, we're going to remove the first version of the scarf and just take a look at how the other version of the scarf actually looks like attached. I actually kind of like the other version a little better since it is a little bit more in a swaying position, but I think we're just going to use this for now. We're going to take a look at how the other hat looks on Kamen Rider Skull. And it does attach nicely, unlike the original release, which had a lot of problems actually staying on his head, and I found that very frustrating to play around with. This one is a little easier to attach, and that's what I actually prefer on this version of the hat, so that's really nice that you can actually do that. Now, we're going to take a look at the actual suitcase. It does open up, and inside you can house the 6 main memories that is used by Kamen Rider Double and was actually seen in the Kamen Rider Double movie for Begins Night. This is actually a separate double driver, which did come with Kamen Rider Skull. It's a little hard to actually remove, but unlike the other version of the double driver, this is actually a static piece, and while it is still painted like a regular double driver and so on, you cannot open it in. It's pretty much just there to attach inside the suitcase. So, now, we're going to take one final comparison, and that is with S.H.Figuarts Shinkocchu Seihou Kamen Rider Cyclone Joker Double. So, we're just going to bring him over to the screen here, and here is how he looks next to Kamen Rider Skull, which I think he looks really nice together. So overall, I think Bandai Tamashii has definitely upgraded this version of the design onto the Shinkocchu Seihou mold, and it was definitely something that I was looking forward to since the original mold really did not live up to its hype. Especially since how old that particular figure is, this is definitely a worthwhile upgrade even if you have the original release. I got this at Amiami, and for what I could tell, I think it might have been sold out since I actually got this pre-ordered when it first went up for pre-order. So, your best bet is to probably just check Amiami, HLJ, CS Toys, or any of the online stores to try and pick one up. Anyways, please comment, subscribe, and check out Hero Club and Hero Taku. Also check out Twitter Underdark on 633, and please check down the other channels down below. Please check the little bell at the bottom of the screen in order to see my content go up as soon as possible. I'm back with more S.H.Figuarts and more reviews, but for now, I'll be seeing you later, YouTube. Bye.